This is TWiT. Now we're going to talk about acoustic treatments, which are, generally speaking, panels that you put up on the wall to affect the acoustical behavior of the room. So I want to start by asking you, what is your general philosophy of acoustic treatments, and how does that philosophy intersect with your thoughts about what's often called automatic room correction, like Odyssey and Dirac and stuff like that?
Right. So I always like to talk about either cars or cooking, because this is stuff we all know about in the analogies. I think in cooking, there's all these spices you can use. There's, of course, salt and pepper, and then there's cumin, and there's, the list goes on and on and on. And there is just the right amount of salt and the right amount of pepper and the right amount of paprika to put into a dish to where it all works. Put too much of it, and the dish is ruined. Same thing with acoustical treatments. There's just the right amount of either absorption, which is materials that suck the sound, actually converted into heat through friction. There's the right amount of scattering, which is materials that the incoming sound waves get scattered back out into little pieces. And then the other category usually that people call bass traps, I just like to call them bass absorbers. There's the right amount of bass absorbers so that the bass decay time is controlled the right way and the standing waves are controlled the right way. So every room, just like every dish, requires the right amount of treatments. And the really interesting thing is a bunch of research was done a while back on what listener preferences are in terms of acoustical character of rooms. And it's been found most people tend to like a certain amount of reflection, a certain amount of absorption, a certain amount of scattering on listening to music, listening to films, listening to dialogue. And there's a pretty good statistical center to that. So with that in mind, you can take a room of a certain size and you can go, hey, given that size, in order to make most people enjoy the sound, I need to have so much reflection, so much absorption, and just run the calculations and go, look, this is what you need.
Now, a lot of people will just buy an AV receiver or something that has a room correction in it, like Odyssey or Dirac, and just run that. Why is that a good idea? It
is a good idea up to a certain point, and there's several points. The point number one is that if the room has severe acoustical anomalies, like too long of a reflection decay time at some frequencies and too short at other frequencies, there's no way for the receiver to know that. What it's going to do is try to adjust everything to where there's an equal amount of sound, regardless of whether the room is reverberant at some frequencies or not other frequencies. So it's going to compensate for that, and you're going to end up with an error. And it's an error because the microphone, I actually found my microphone here. The microphone is mightier than the sword. No, the microphone, microphone listens linearly. The human ear brain, and probably most animals' ear brain, does not listen linearly. It has the ability to separate the direct sound from the speakers, from the reflected sounds in the room, and it does so, and it adds it all up in a really complicated way that I'm not going to get into over here, but there's a field of study called psychoacoustics where they worry about that. And the people who practice that professionally are psychoacousticians.
Yes.
I'd love to be able to say I'm a psychoacoustician. So this guy walks into a bar, sits down, and tells somebody they're a psychoacoustician. Everybody leaves. So the issue is if you have a room that has really bad acoustical character, which means either too much reflection decay time, just too many reflections, or unbalanced reflections over time, then those auto EQ systems are going to yield a flawed result. And I have found that myself doing either auto EQ or manual EQ using microphones like we talked about in the last session, where you adjust everything, you draw a nice even target curve on your computer following all of the rules using good analysis and good microphones, and you listen, you go, that doesn't sound right. And you go, well, what's going on? Well, if you happen to be using Room EQ Wizard, which is one of my favorite programs, you can actually look using certain types of measurements. You can look at the reflection decay time. You can actually look at what they call RT60, but there's a whole bunch of different ways to look at it. And you can see that things are not smooth at all frequencies. And you go, aha, over here I have much longer of a decay time, and over here I don't. So really my target curve should follow that, and then you can adjust your target curve that way. The auto EQ systems don't do that.
Hey, it's Leo Laporte. I hope you've enjoyed this little clip from our programming at TWiT.tv. For more, visit our website, TWiT.tv, or subscribe in your favorite podcast client. There's also a link somewhere down there.